Sam Malone is alone in the bar. Diane has returned, the old attraction has flared, and for a few hours it seemed possible that the most famous unfinished romance in television might finally become a life. Then Sam came home. His friends drifted out one by one, leaving him to straighten the room that had held them together for 11 years. A stranger knocked at the locked front door. Sam looked toward the sound and answered with 4 quiet words. "Sorry, we're closed." That line ended Cheers because it understood something the series had spent more than a decade discovering. The bar was never merely where Sam worked. It was the relationship that survived every other relationship. The one place that could absorb death, departure, failure, new love, old resentment, and one last temptation to leave. We will return to why Diane came back and why Sam stayed, but the story begins before there was a Cheers, when its creators were still searching for a room capable of holding an entire world. Brothers Glen and Les Charles had learned television comedy on shows such as The Mary Tyler Moore Show and Taxi. Director James Burrows had helped define the visual rhythm of both theatrical comedy and the modern ensemble sitcom. Together, they wanted a series built less around a weekly contrivance than around people who could remain interesting while sitting in the same place. Their early possibilities included a hotel, with the shifting traffic of guests and employees suggesting a kind of American Fawlty Towers. The location kept changing because the real idea was not yet a city or a profession. It was collision. The creators wanted people from different classes, educations, and temperaments to share a room long enough for irritation to become intimacy. A bar offered that naturally. Customers could arrive without elaborate explanation, regulars could possess the place without owning it, and alcohol could loosen a secret or worsen a mistake. The setting became a neighborhood tavern, first imagined in California, then moved across the country to Boston. Boston supplied history, tribal sports loyalty, old brick, and a social texture that made the bar feel established before the first episode. The Bull and Finch pub beneath the Hampshire house inspired the exterior. The television interior was built on a soundstage, but it was designed with the density of a real place. The long wooden bar, the pool room beyond it, the staircase descending from the street, the office where Sam could briefly hide, and the back rooms that seemed to promise a larger building. The geography mattered because Cheers would ask viewers to return to it week after week. People entered down the stairs as if descending from the unpredictable city into a protected chamber. Sam stood behind the bar with command of the room, but also trapped inside it. The customers faced him, faced one another, or turned toward the door whenever a new problem arrived. Burrows could stage several conversations at once without making the space feel like a theatrical box. At first, the central conflict belonged to Sam and Diane. Sam Malone was a recovering alcoholic and former Major League relief pitcher who now owned a bar. The contradiction gave the character weight before the jokes began. He had built a business around the substance he could no longer safely touch. He had also moved from the applause of a stadium to the smaller authority of remembering who wanted another beer. His charm was practiced, his appetite for women obvious, and his confidence always one bad decision away from collapse. The creators initially considered making Sam a former football player. Casting changed the sport. Ted Danson did not resemble the bruising veteran they had imagined, but he could project the length, grace, and faded vanity of a pitcher who once entered games with everyone watching. He was not immediately effortless. Danson later described struggling to understand how to play Sam, especially beside performers whose comic identities seemed fully formed. That uncertainty became useful. Sam's swagger could hide a man rebuilding himself in public. Diane Chambers entered the bar in the pilot expecting to leave Boston with her fiancé. She was educated, romantic, verbally elaborate, and almost completely unprepared for the humiliation waiting for her. When the man abandoned her, Sam offered a job. The practical arrangement concealed the show's first great wager. Diane would stand among people she might once have treated as material for an essay, while they would test whether her intelligence contained any wisdom about ordinary life. Shelley Long gave Diane the ability to be absurd and wounded in the same breath. Her references could be pompous, her standards impossible, and her certainty exhausting. Yet Long never treated Diane as a joke the audience should simply reject. Diane believed in the person she hoped to become. Her mistakes hurt because the performance allowed viewers to see the idealism beneath the performance of sophistication. Sam noticed that vulnerability, even when he was mocking everything wrapped around it. The attraction between them was built as a collision of opposites, but opposites alone do not sustain a series. Danson and Long gave the conflict an unstable rhythm. Sam could win a social exchange, then discover Diane had understood him more deeply. Diane could condemn his shallowness, then reveal that her own fantasy of romance was equally self-serving. Every argument carried the possibility of a kiss, and every kiss created material for the next argument. The rest of the bar made that private contest public. Coach Ernie Pantuso, played by Nicholas Colasanto, had known Sam during his baseball life. Coach was sweet, forgetful, and often several steps behind a conversation, but his confusion was never the whole character. He loved Sam without requiring the confident performance. He could misunderstand the question and still recognize the person who needed kindness. In a room built on insult, Coach's innocence kept warmth from becoming sentimental. Carla Tortelli supplied the opposite temperature. Rhea Perlman played the bar's waitress as fast, suspicious, fiercely loyal, and delighted by any opportunity to puncture Diane's dignity. Carla worked hard, raised an expanding family, survived bad men, and treated vulnerability as information an enemy might use. Her hostility toward Diane was class conflict sharpened into comedy. Diane could describe human compassion in perfect language. Carla wanted to know whether she would cover a shift. George Wendt's Norm Peterson entered to one of television's most durable rituals. The room called his name. Norm moved toward his stool, asked for a beer, and offered a line about work, marriage, appetite, or disappointment. The greeting was funny because it was reliable, but reliability became the emotional point. Norm's life outside the bar often frustrated him. Inside, his arrival changed the room. He was recognized before he had achieved anything that day. John Ratzenberger's Cliff Clavin completed the early regular pair with the confidence of a man who possessed an answer to every question and evidence for almost none of them. Cliff's postal uniform made him look official while his stories became increasingly impossible. Norm rarely needed to defeat him. A pause, a glance, or one carefully placed reply could let Cliff's certainty collapse under its own weight. Together, they made the corner of the bar feel permanently occupied. The pilot gathered those people for what looked like the beginning of a sure success. It was not. Cheers premiered in the autumn of 1982 and finished near the bottom of the ratings for its first season. The show had critical support and the network saw value in it, but renewal required patience that modern television rarely extends. The bar viewers now remember as instantly welcoming was, at first, a room much of the country had not chosen to enter. That difficult first season gave the series time to refine its voice away from triumph. The characters were not winners gathering to celebrate. Sam had lost baseball and alcohol. Diane had lost her planned future. Coach's career was behind him. Norm drifted through employment he disliked. Carla fought constantly to remain ahead of disaster. Their failures did not make the bar depressing because everyone could convert humiliation into a story before the night ended. The writing trusted conversation as action. An episode might begin with a bet, a date, a rivalry, a secret, or a customer who disturbed the balance. Yet the decisive event was often someone saying the one thing that could not be taken back. Burrows directed with attention to reaction. A joke did not end when the speaker delivered it. It traveled across faces, reached the person it wounded, pleased the person who had predicted it, and sometimes returned as a better joke. The live audience helped shape that rhythm. Cheers was not performed as a series of isolated punchlines later assembled by editing. The cast had to hold the room, listen, and allow silence to become part of the laugh. A door opening could create anticipation. Norm crossing to his stool could become an event. Diane preparing to explain herself could produce a reaction before she spoke. The audience learned the characters' habits and began laughing at intention. Sam and Diane soon became the loudest habit. Their first season ended by releasing the attraction in a furious argument that turned into a kiss. That payoff created a new problem. The series could no longer rely only on whether they would admit their feelings. It had to ask what happened when two people with profound chemistry attempted an ordinary relationship and discovered that chemistry was not compatibility. Their romance became a machine for hope and sabotage. Sam feared commitment, then resented being judged for the fear. Diane demanded emotional honesty, then staged love according to stories no real partner could inhabit. They could rescue each other from embarrassment and produce a worse embarrassment before the scene ended. The relationship worked because the show refused to declare one character the healthy adult and the other the obstacle. The bar absorbed their breakups as it absorbed everything else. Carla celebrated too openly. Coach tried to help. Norm and Cliff watched with the fascination of regulars who understood that tonight's private disaster would become tomorrow's shared history. Cheers turned repetition into accumulation. Sam and Diane did not simply have another argument. They had an argument in the room where everyone remembered the previous one. Fame came gradually. Awards and critical attention arrived before mass ratings. Then the audience widened. Viewers who found the show in later seasons could enter easily because the setting explained the relationships. Norm was welcomed. Cliff knew too much. Carla attacked weakness. Coach offered kindness. Sam and Diane tried to deny or perfect what everyone else could see. The formula was recognizable, but the performances kept it from feeling mechanical. The first major expansion came through Frasier Crane. Kelsey Grammer entered as the psychiatrist Diane began seeing after one of her separations from Sam. Frasier could have remained a temporary complication, an educated rival designed to provoke Sam. Instead, Grammer made him both formidable and ridiculous. Frasier could analyze everyone in the bar, then behave with less self-awareness than the people he was diagnosing. His relationship with Diane carried the series out of the bar and toward Europe, where their planned marriage collapsed. When Frasier returned, humiliated and furious, Cheers made a crucial choice. It did not remove the rival after his plot function ended. It let him stay. The bar that had helped cause his pain became the place where he reconstructed himself. That pattern would repeat across the series. A character entered as disruption and remained because the ensemble discovered a new balance. Frasier's education allowed him to parry Diane's language, but his neediness connected him to Norm and Cliff. He wanted prestige, love, control, and a convincing account of his own behavior. The bar supplied none of them reliably. It supplied company. Grammer learned to move between cultivated restraint and operatic collapse, giving the show a character who could make a minor inconvenience sound like Greek tragedy. While the ensemble was growing, Nicholas Colasanto was becoming ill. Coach's warmth had become part of the show's moral structure, and Colasanto's absence could not be treated like an ordinary casting change. He died during production of the third season. The loss entered the real workplace and the fictional bar at once. Cheers did not build a sensational death episode around Coach. It allowed grief to exist in the continuing life of the room. Sam had lost the person who connected him most directly to baseball and to the years before sobriety. Carla had lost a colleague whose gentleness could stop her anger without defeating her. The audience had lost the character least interested in winning. A photograph of Geronimo that had belonged to Colasanto was later placed on the set and remained there, a private memorial inside the public space. Replacing Coach directly would have been impossible. The series instead introduced Woody Boyd, a young man from Hanover, Indiana, who arrived looking for the old friend with whom he had exchanged pens. Woody did not know Coach had died. The discovery gave his entrance sadness, but Woody Harrelson played the new bartender with a different innocence. Coach's confusion came from age and memory. Woody's came from youth, literal thinking, and a rural world far from Boston. Woody could not restore what had been lost, and that was why he worked. He formed new relationships rather than inheriting Coach's exact role. Sam became mentor as well as employer. Carla found fresh innocence to exploit. Frasier encountered a mind that could defeat elaborate reasoning simply by misunderstanding its premise. Woody also possessed flashes of competence and ambition that prevented him from becoming a decorative fool. The successful transition proved that Cheers could survive irreversible change. That lesson arrived just before a more frightening test. Sam and Diane moved through proposal, delay, reunion, jealousy, and a wedding that could not occur. The series had spent years making their attraction its most visible story. Shelley Long then decided to leave after the 5th season. The risk was obvious. Many viewers identified Cheers with Sam and Diane's unfinished romance. Removing Diane could make Sam's life feel resolved in the wrong way or leave the series imitating its own past with a substitute. The writers sent Diane away under the belief that she would complete a writing opportunity and return. Sam understood the promise was fragile. Their goodbye made delay itself the separation. He told her they would meet again after the required time. Then the episode imagined them elderly, dancing together in the home they might have shared. The fantasy offered an ending the series did not believe they could reach. Diane left the bar, and the show crossed a boundary it could not undo through ordinary weekly storytelling. Behind the scenes, the producers rejected the simplest replacement strategy. Rebecca Howe would not be another intellectual waitress arriving to battle Sam across the same counter. She entered as the corporate manager imposed after Sam lost ownership of the bar. Kirstie Alley played Rebecca as controlled, ambitious, and initially unimpressed by Sam's old authority. The power arrangement had reversed. Sam was now the employee trying to recover the place that defined him. The early version of Rebecca did not immediately reveal the comic character the series needed. Her competence and severity could stop a scene without opening it. The writers and Alley found the answer in the distance between Rebecca's business image and her emotional life. The hard corporate exterior became a performance hiding panic, romantic fantasy, status hunger, and a spectacular inability to control the outcome she wanted most. That discovery changed Sam as well. He pursued Rebecca, but the series did not recreate Sam and Diane's grand romantic argument. Rebecca's resistance became part of a broader workplace comedy, while Sam's recovery of the bar supplied a longer objective. Danson could loosen the version of Sam defined by one impossible relationship. He became more visibly a friend, employer, recovering addict, former athlete, and aging man confronting the limits of charm. Rebecca's obsession with wealthy executive Robin Colcord exposed her weakness for status. She wanted the life corporate success was supposed to grant, and kept mistaking powerful men for proof she had reached it. Robin's charm concealed corruption, and Sam's attempts to protect or expose her were tangled with jealousy and genuine concern. The plot gave Rebecca heartbreak without turning her into Diane in a different wardrobe. The sixth season could have felt like a new series borrowing the old set. Instead, the bar regulars preserved memory while the new arrangement created motion. Norm still arrived to his greeting. Cliff still manufactured expertise. Carla still punished pretension. Frasier had become enough of a regular that his own relationships could drive stories. Woody had become part of the institution. Rebecca was surrounded by people who knew the bar better than she did, and slowly they came to know her. Lilith Sternin widened Frasier's story. Bebe Neuwirth played Lilith with extraordinary stillness, severe intelligence, and comic precision. At first, the joke appeared to be that she was even more controlled than Frasier pretended to be. The relationship deepened because both characters could understand the other's language and still fail at the ordinary work of love. Marriage and parenthood brought a domestic life into the bar without making either person stable. Frasier and Lilith could discuss emotion clinically while causing emotional wreckage in real time. The ensemble treated their seriousness as material, but the performances preserved pain beneath it. Lilith's later departure and affair sent Frasier toward one of Grammer's most exposed stretches on the series. Cheers could move from farce to despair because the bar had become a place where collapse did not require permanent exile. Cliff and Norm also grew beyond their entrance rituals. Cliff's certainty concealed loneliness and dependence on his mother. Norm's jokes about Vera concealed a marriage that remained largely off-screen but strangely durable. The show wisely resisted showing Vera clearly. She existed through Norm's complaints, evasions, accidental tenderness, and the reactions of people who knew both spouses. An unseen character became part of the social architecture. Norm's employment failures revealed the gap between the person he was expected to be outside and the person welcomed inside. He could be fired, demoted, or humiliated, then enter Cheers and hear his name. That ritual did not solve his problems. It gave him a stable identity while he faced them badly. The comfort was real and imperfect, which kept the series from pretending friendship automatically produces change. Cliff wanted recognition of a different kind. He did not need everyone to call his name as much as he needed them to accept his authority. The more the room doubted him, the more elaborate the evidence became. Yet Cheers occasionally exposed the fragile man beneath the facts. A contest, a romantic opportunity, or a threat to his postal career could reveal how much of Cliff's certainty had been built to prevent dismissal. Carla's life remained the least protected from material consequence. Children, money, unreliable partners, and exhausting work followed her into every season. Her romance with hockey player Eddie Lebec briefly offered an improbable tenderness. Then his death returned her to survival. The story carried an uneven comic turn involving Eddie's hidden second family, but Perlman's performance kept Carla's grief from becoming only a setup. The Bar was often called a family, though the series was too sharp to make that comparison entirely comforting. Families know where to hurt each other. They repeat old roles, resist change, and convert history into leverage. Cheers worked because belonging did not require perfect behavior. The group could be petty, cruel, selfish, and absurd, then still notice who had not arrived or who was pretending not to need help. Sam's sobriety gave that belonging a boundary. The series did not turn every episode into an addiction story, but it never erased the fact that the owner of Cheers could not drink. When Sam's control was threatened, the bar changed meaning. Bottles were no longer set dressing. His friend's ability to notice, intervene, or fail him became part of the show's deepest responsibility. One of Sam's most important later confrontations came when the carefree image no longer protected him from aging. Baseball glory had receded. Hair, sex appeal, ownership, and competitive rituals could not answer what happened when attention moved elsewhere. Danson allowed Sam's vanity to remain funny while revealing the fear inside it. He was a man surrounded by people and still tempted to measure life by conquest. Rebecca faced a parallel reckoning. Her business ambitions repeatedly collapsed, her romantic ideal proved unreliable, and the executive persona became harder to maintain. The show sometimes pushed her desperation broadly, but Alley could make humiliation volcanic. Rebecca did not glide into the bar's family. She fought, failed, cried, regrouped, and slowly became impossible to imagine outside it. The ensemble's confidence allowed Cheers to experiment without leaving its room. Thanksgiving dinner at Carla's house turned rivalry into a food fight and hid Vera behind a pie. A bar competition could become an epic campaign. A game of trivia could expose every insecurity in the room. The stakes were often proudly small, but the characters' investment made them enormous. The series also built a wider comic world. Harry the Hat arrived with a scheme and occasionally used deception on behalf of the bar. Gary's Old Town Tavern became the rival against which Cheers could unite. John Allen Hill challenged Sam's ownership and pride through the restaurant above. Each recurring opponent understood that the bar was territory, and threatening the territory temporarily converted regular antagonists into one team. Sam eventually regained ownership, but the victory did not restore the old series. Diane did not return, Coach remained gone, Woody and Rebecca had permanent places, and Frasier's life had expanded far beyond his original purpose. The sign over the door could remain unchanged while the community beneath it became a record of adaptation. That adaptability helped Cheers rise from its disastrous first-season ratings to become one of the defining comedies of its era. Awards recognized the writing, directing, and acting across different configurations of the cast. More importantly, the series trained viewers to enjoy continuity without requiring serialized plot every week. A person could miss an episode and understand the next one, yet years of history made every reaction richer. The show's influence traveled through form. Later workplace comedies borrowed the idea that a fixed social space could become more compelling than any individual plot. Romantic comedies studied Sam and Diane's mixture of attraction and incompatibility. Ensemble shows learned that a secondary complication, such as Frasier, could become a center of gravity if the performance created unused possibilities. Frasier's possibilities became large enough to leave the bar. When Cheers ended, the character moved to Seattle for a spin-off that developed a different family, workplace, and rhythm. The transition was not simply brand extension. It proved how far Frasier had traveled from the man introduced to postpone a Sam and Diane reunion. Cheers had turned a temporary rival into the foundation of another long-running series. Before that future could begin, the original bar needed an ending. The cast and producers chose to finish while the series still possessed its identity. The finale expanded into a major television event. The question hanging over it was not whether every character would receive a perfect future. It was whether the show would finally resolve the romance used to define its early years. Diane returned as a successful television writer. Time had granted her some of the recognition she once imagined, but success had not converted the past into something simple. Sam also performed a version of success for her. Both wanted the other to see a life that proved leaving had been survivable. The old attraction returned because attraction had never been their problem. For a moment, the finale allowed the fantasy to win. Sam and Diane prepared to leave together. Their friends watched the oldest story in the bar appear to reach its promised ending. Yet the airport stripped away the performance. They began imagining the practical future, and the incompatibilities were still there. Love had not changed the structure that made a life together impossible. The decision not to reunite them permanently was not an insult to the early seasons. It was their completion. Sam and Diane had changed each other. They had also spent years treating intensity as proof that a shared future must exist. The finale allowed them to recognize that a relationship can matter completely without becoming permanent. Sam returned to Cheers, where the ensemble gathered for one last conversation about life and meaning. The scene avoided a parade of perfect resolutions. Woody had a family and an unlikely political career. Norm had his stool. Cliff had his mother and his stories. Rebecca had survived another lost dream. Carla still worked, fought, and belonged. Frasier was preparing to carry his contradictions elsewhere. The discussion turned toward what each person considered the most important thing in life. Answers shifted between love, career, friendship, and the evasions people use when a question becomes too direct. Norm finally told Sam that he could never be unfaithful to his one true love. He meant the bar. Sam understood. After the others left, Sam walked through the room alone. He adjusted a photograph of Geronimo, silently acknowledging Coach and Nicholas Colasanto. The gesture connected the finale to the first irreversible loss the series had survived. Cheers had continued without Coach, but it had never replaced him. The room carried absence as carefully as it carried laughter. Then came the knock. A person outside wanted entry after closing. In an ordinary bar, Sam's answer was routine. In the final seconds of Cheers, it became a declaration that this particular night and this particular window into the room had ended. Sam turned away from the door and moved deeper into the bar rather than out of it. The ending sometimes appears to choose work over love, but the series had made the choice more complicated. Cheers was where Sam practiced sobriety, friendship, responsibility, vanity, generosity, and forgiveness. It held the evidence of the man he had been and the person he was still becoming. Leaving with Diane would not merely have meant leaving a job. It would have meant abandoning the community through which his second life had become real. That does not make the bar entirely healthy. Norm can hide there. Cliff can inflate himself there. Sam can avoid intimacy there. Rebecca can mistake belonging for direction. Cheers never solves the tension between refuge and escape. It simply shows why human beings need a place that can be both, and why friends sometimes must challenge the refuge before it becomes a hiding place. The famous theme promises a place where everybody knows your name. The series earns that promise by showing what recognition costs. To be known is not only to receive a greeting, it is to have people remember your worst habits, your failed romances, your old lies, your private grief, and the version of yourself you hoped everyone had forgotten. The regulars return because the room knows all of that and still makes space. Coach's photograph, Woody's arrival, Diane's departure, Rebecca's breakdowns, Frasier's expansion, and Sam's final decision are not separate eras pasted together. They are proof that the room can change without becoming unrecognizable. The continuity lives less in a fixed cast than in the behavior of belonging. Someone enters carrying a problem. The room jokes, judges, interferes, and occasionally helps. By closing time, the problem has become shared history. That is why Cheers remains warmer in memory than many of its individual jokes suggest. The characters could be merciless. Carla attacked appearance and weakness. Sam used charm selfishly. Diane turned morality into vanity. Frasier made other people's pain about his intelligence. Norm and Cliff avoided responsibility with practiced skill. The warmth came not from niceness, but from duration. They stayed long enough to see one another clearly. The series also understood that television itself creates a neighborhood ritual. Viewers entered from their own week, heard the theme, descended the staircase, and found the stools occupied. They did not need to live in Boston or drink in a bar. The set supplied the emotional convenience of a place unchanged since the previous visit, while the characters supplied the truth that nothing human remains unchanged for long. Years after the finale, reunions and interviews still return to the same physical language. Cast members stand behind a bar, remember Colasanto, discuss Long's departure, imitate the opening ritual, or describe the strange intimacy of performing together before a live audience. The stories differ, but the location organizes memory. Cheers became a place even for the people who built it. Its legacy is therefore larger than Sam and Diane, though their chemistry gave it ignition. It is larger than Norm's entrance, though that greeting became shorthand for belonging. It is larger than Frasier's future, Rebecca's collapse, Carla's fury, Woody's innocence, Cliff's facts, or Coach's kindness. The achievement is that all of those comic identities can occupy one room without becoming a collection of sketches. That achievement depended on treating the bar as a real workplace. Someone had to open, close, clean glasses, check supplies, manage money, and deal with customers who were not part of the main ensemble. Sam's ownership could be challenged because ownership involved bills and responsibility. Rebecca's management mattered because the bar could be bought by a corporation. Carla and Diane's conflict mattered because both needed shifts, tips, and authority inside the same small area. The series understood that work creates an intimacy different from friendship. Coworkers can know which expression means a bad morning before they know the cause. They can cover a task while resenting the person who asked. They can witness romances, relapses, financial failures, and family calls without receiving a formal invitation into the private life. Cheers let those accidental witnesses become a community. That is one reason the bar's customers did not feel like an audience for Sam and Diane. Norm and Cliff had their own rhythms, needs, and alliances. Carla did not suspend her life while the romantic leads argued. Coach could misunderstand the immediate issue and still carry history Sam could not discuss with anyone else. A weaker ensemble would wait for the main story to activate it. Cheers allowed the room to continue breathing. The creative team protected that density through casting. Burrows has repeatedly described the importance of finding performers who could make the language sound inevitable and listen when another character owned the moment. Television comedy often rewards the person delivering the line. Cheers also rewarded the face recognizing that a line had changed the balance of the room. Rhea Perlman's reaction could turn Diane's harmless phrase into a class offense before Carla answered. Wendt could let Norm consider whether honesty was worth the effort. Ratzenberger could show Cliff preparing a fact no one had requested. Colasanto could realize Coach had misunderstood and then decide the misunderstanding was more interesting. Those seconds created character without requiring exposition. The series made strategic use of the office behind the bar. Sam could retreat there with a problem he did not want the regulars to see, but the room was never truly private. Someone would enter, overhear, or wait outside. The office represented Sam's claim to authority while constantly proving that ownership did not protect him from the social world he had built. The pool room served a different purpose. It allowed conversations to step partly away from the main group without leaving Cheers. Secrets could form there, bets could escalate, and characters could observe the bar from its edge. The set offered enough zones for changing alliances while preserving the sense that everyone remained within reach. Even the staircase carried narrative information. A person descending into the bar entered in full view. The ensemble could greet, judge, or fear the arrival before the newcomer reached the floor. Diane's entrances could bring an emotional emergency. Gary's people could signal another competition. An authority figure could change the posture of the room simply by appearing above it. The visual familiarity allowed special episodes to feel larger. When the group left Cheers for a trip, dinner, ceremony, or rival location, the absence of the bar became noticeable. The characters carried their roles into a space that did not automatically support them. Returning at the end restored the normal order with the force of a homecoming. The relationship between Cheers and Boston worked in a similar way. The series did not need to tour the city every week. Sports loyalties, accents, neighborhood assumptions, weather, universities, and the exterior sign brought Boston into the dialogue. The bar felt local enough that viewers elsewhere could imagine a real address. Sam's baseball history made the city connection personal. He had once occupied a public role in a place that remembers sports failure with unusual energy. The bar allowed him to convert former fame into a manageable anecdote, yet old teammates, fans, and reminders could still expose how much the career mattered. His recovery from alcoholism and his retirement from baseball were different losses that had become one new identity. The show handled sobriety most effectively when it emerged through behavior rather than a lesson. Sam could pour drinks, smell alcohol, and spend every working hour around consumption while maintaining the line. That stability was remarkable and vulnerable. When grief or humiliation threatened it, the regulars' usual jokes suddenly carried responsibility. Coach's connection to the baseball years made him a witness to both versions of Sam. He knew the athlete before the bar owner learned how to speak about that life. Losing Coach therefore removed more than a beloved employee. It removed someone capable of remembering Sam without requiring him to perform either fame or recovery. Woody could not replace that memory. He created a future connection instead. Sam taught him, watched him grow, and gradually confronted the fact that the younger man possessed opportunities unrelated to Sam's own past. Woody's later marriage and political success were comic turns, but they also showed a bartender moving outward while Sam remained. Kelly Gaines, played by Jackie Swanson, gave Woody a romance built around differences in wealth and innocence rather than the combative intellectual structure of Sam and Diane. Woody could be underestimated by Kelly's privileged world, yet his directness often cut through the social game. Their wedding allowed the ensemble to gather around a future that did not depend on Sam's decision. Frasier and Lilith offered the bar its most articulate marriage and one of its least controlled. Their professional understanding of psychology could name every mechanism while leaving them defenseless against it. When Lilith left, Frasier's breakdown was funny because Grammer could make despair enormous, but the series did not pretend intelligence should have protected him from abandonment. The bar's response showed the limits of its family function. Friends could keep Frasier company, interrupt self-destruction, and refuse to let humiliation isolate him. They could not repair the marriage or guarantee his recovery. Cheers offered presence rather than cure, an important distinction beneath the comedy. Rebecca's business failures carried a different humiliation. She entered believing professional achievement could produce control and discovered that the corporate hierarchy treated her ambition as useful until it was inconvenient. Her longing for Robin Colcord combined romance with advancement, making his betrayal both personal and structural. When Rebecca lost status, the people she had once managed remained around her. Their sympathy was imperfect and sometimes selfish. Carla could enjoy the fall before recognizing the pain. Sam could exploit an opening and then protect Rebecca from the worst consequence. Belonging arrived not as a speech, but as the inability of the group to remain uninvolved. Sam's pursuit of Rebecca sometimes repeated the old habit of turning every attractive woman into a test. The difference was that Rebecca did not organize her identity around reforming him. Their relationship could expose Sam's aging routine without pretending another epic romance waited behind it. The absence of a permanent reunion allowed both characters to remain more than a delayed couple. The show repeatedly questioned whether Sam's promiscuity was freedom or compulsion. His stories could win admiration in the bar and still leave him alone after closing. When sexual success became harder or emotionally empty, the jokes began revealing a man who had replaced one form of validation with another. The series did not offer a neat cure, it made the pattern visible. Diane had challenged that pattern directly, though her own need for romantic grandeur often trapped them both. She wanted Sam to become the man she believed his hidden depth promised. Sam wanted Diane to accept the man he already performed. Each occasionally saw the other clearly, then treated that clarity as a reason the relationship had to work. Their final airport decision rejects that logic. Seeing one another clearly does not require building a household. The scene allows affection, attraction, gratitude, and incompatibility to coexist. Television romance often treats separation as evidence that love was false. Cheers allowed separation to prove that love was not enough. The elderly dance imagined at Diane's first departure becomes more poignant in that light. It is not a secret prophecy the finale breaks. It is the future the characters wanted the promise of return to preserve. The fantasy mattered, even though living inside it would have required both people to become simpler than they were. The finale's scale could easily have overwhelmed the intimate ending. Public attention, guest possibilities, expanded runtime, and the pressure to honor 11 seasons encouraged spectacle. The creative choice to finish with Sam, a photograph, a knock, and a darkened room returned the show to its smallest unit, one person deciding what the bar means when no audience remains. Moving the Geronimo photograph acknowledges that the room contains people who cannot come back for the finale. Colasanto's absence had shaped the series for years. The gesture does not stop the story for tribute. It lets Sam care for an object the way the show had cared for memory, by keeping it inside daily life. Norm's comment about Sam's true love works because Norm is not normally the group's moral philosopher. His own relationship with Vera is expressed through complaint, avoidance, and loyalty. When he recognizes Sam's attachment to the bar, the observation carries the authority of someone whose most durable commitments are hidden beneath jokes. The final stranger remains outside. Viewers do not learn his name, need, or story. In every earlier season, that person might have become tonight's customer and entered the social experiment. Closing denies one more beginning so the series can end. Sam's answer protects the completed room from becoming another episode. Syndication later removed the suspense of ratings and scheduling. Episodes could be watched out of order, repeated after school or late at night, and discovered by viewers who already knew Diane would leave or Frasier would move to Seattle. The comedy survived because its pleasure was not confined to surprise. Familiar reactions grew richer with return. Streaming introduced another form of return, allowing the gradual transformations to appear faster. Coach's loss, Woody's arrival, Diane's departure, Rebecca's reinvention, and the finale could now be seen as one continuous adaptation rather than changes separated by years of real life. The durability of the ensemble becomes more visible when the transitions are close together. That viewing also exposes period assumptions. Jokes about gender, sexuality, bodies, class, and mental health do not all land as they once did. A complete history should not erase those limitations or reduce the series to them. Cheers was a product of its era that also helped expand how emotionally complicated a mainstream sitcom ensemble could be. Its strongest defense against age is specificity. Coach is not merely kind. He is a former baseball man with memory loss and loyalty to Sam. Carla is not merely abrasive. She is a working mother defending territory and dignity. Diane is not merely pretentious. She is a person who uses culture to construct the self she fears she has not earned. Norm is not merely a drinker. Cliff not merely a bore. Rebecca not merely a failure. Frasier not merely an intellectual. And Sam not merely a womanizer. The jokes begin with those labels, and the years complicate them. Duration gives stereotype a chance to become biography. That biography could extend beyond the series because the characters had been built through relationships rather than premises alone. Frasier could move across the country and remain recognizable while discovering an entirely different comic family. Woody could enter politics because innocence had gradually revealed confidence. Rebecca could imagine a new beginning because failure had never eliminated appetite. Sam was more difficult to move. His identity had fused with a place. That is why the finale does not send him into a sequel-ready future. The meaningful action is staying, a decision television usually treats as the absence of action. Cheers makes it the culmination of everything he survived. Staying also means accepting repetition. Another customer will arrive. Norm will want the same stool. Cliff will present another fact. Carla will fight another shift. The bar's future is not a dramatic transformation, but the continuation of small recognitions. Sam chooses the work of maintaining them. Maintenance is the hidden subject of long relationships. Coach's loss, Diane's departure, corporate ownership, romantic failure, and changing staff could each have ended the room as the characters knew it. Someone kept opening the door, stalking the bar, and noticing who was missing. Survival required ordinary labor after extraordinary episodes. The series' creators performed a similar labor. They revised characters when an initial conception did not work, as with Rebecca. They allowed a temporary rival to remain, as with Frasier. They replaced an irreplaceable performer by creating a different relationship, as with Woody. Continuity was produced through adaptation rather than denial. The contrast with Sam and Diane is revealing. The writers did not adapt the couple into a stable marriage because doing so would have denied the qualities that made them vivid. They allowed the relationship to end while preserving its importance. The show protected character truth at the cost of romantic wish fulfillment. The finale gives viewers enough of the wish to understand the temptation. Diane returns successful, Sam appears ready. The history activates immediately. Then practical imagination defeats the fantasy. They do not fail because the old spark disappeared. They part because the spark still cannot build a peaceful life. Sam's walk back into the bar is therefore not defeat. He has spent years mistaking pursuit for proof of value. Choosing the room does not guarantee that every avoidance is healed, but it identifies the commitment through which healing has been possible. The recovering pitcher, abandoned lover, employer, and friend all exist there together. The exterior sign remains lit in cultural memory because it promises entry, not perfection. The people inside may insult a newcomer, misunderstand a confession, or make the problem worse. They will also remember the next time. Being known begins with someone retaining the story. Cheers retained its characters' stories across loss and reinvention. That is the complete achievement. The jokes made the room pleasurable. The years made it trustworthy. When Sam closes the door, viewers understand that the place will continue holding everything they can no longer watch. If you remember entering Cheers each week, tell us which person made the bar feel like home to you. Was it Sam, Diane, Coach, Carla, Norm, Cliff, Woody, Rebecca, Frasier, or Lilith? Subscribe to The Long Rewind for complete stories of the television classics that defined the 70s and 80s. Sam's final answer was not a rejection of the person at the door. It was an acceptance of everything already inside. The romances had changed, the cast had changed, the audience had grown, and the people who once seemed permanent had left. Sam remained beneath the sign, surrounded by the memory of every entrance. Cheers closed because the night had to end. The bar endured because, for 11 years, it had taught television how belonging survives change.